first or second year, we created like 8 to 10 millionaires. If you know how to buy ads and be a media buyer, you can run anything you want. Start any business you want.
How much money you're going to make?
Definitely 6 figures a month. I could have built this with no code.
Thanks so much for taking the time to do this interview. I'm super excited to talk more about your expertise in building B2B companies, specifically the venture that you're working on, Call Dynamics, which is a B2B SaaS that I think you started working on using no-code tools, and then you've taught yourself a lot about full stack development. You've got under the hood, and now you're scaling up, raising venture capital. You're probably generating revenue. So I want to talk all about that. I know you came to Dreams into Apps originally with one idea, then you kind of pivoted to this B2B. And I'd love to hear more about the art of the pivot, because I think that's something that entrepreneurs need to learn too, is that go where the money is, go where the opportunity is. Sometimes you fall into this trap of being too emotionally attached into one idea, but really the money is somewhere else. So I admire that. I think that's a skill, and I'm super stoked to talk about it. So Clayton, welcome, and I'd love to give you a chance to introduce yourself.
Absolutely. Thanks for the intro. So I've been on my own as an entrepreneur since 2015, but been doing it for a long time on the side, fully committed, like I said, in 2015. And I was involved in the call center space back then, health insurance mainly. And then after that, we sold that company, and I went fully into marketing and started marketing phone calls. Not many people know about it. We call it the pay-per-call industry. And, I just grew to love it. I love the industry. I love all the people I get to meet. You get to go to these cool trade shows, things like that. So it's real fun, real fast paced. Everything's very dynamic. So it keeps you on your toes. And I always had a passion for building projects or building software for internal use mainly. And so when I had this opportunity. So me and you met. I joined the program because I had a consumer-facing product I'd like to build, but at the same time, I was building what is called Call Dynamics, and it's mainly focused around providing insight and call analysis to marketing agencies in the phone call space. And a lot of people are familiar with leads, right? Someone fills out a form. That's a lead, and there's tons of lead bots out there that are AI. That's where it kind of started from for most of these guys, right? It's give me your information, I'm going to give you some free book. Well, on the flip side, on the side that I come from, it's more inbound phone calls, right? Consumer or businesses need consumers to call their business, especially if it's a service-based business. And what we do is we market for that incoming call. And like in the industry, there's like a lot of fraud, right? So there's people trying to cheat the system, things like that. So I saw this opportunity to kind of, one, hold people accountable, right? Bring light into a dark industry. And then also to provide more value for not only the marketing agency, but the media buyers that are buying the media on the marketing side, as well as the advertisers who are buying those phone calls, right? The advertisers would be like the call centers or the health insurance agencies, things like that. And so I had this concept and idea for Call Dynamics, which would ingest these calls, use all this modern AI stacks that everyone's loves right now, and then spit out all valuable information, and then use all the information that we gather to like analyze it across the whole spectrum of their business to give them further insights and actionable insights and how they can improve their business flow, their call sales, their cross sales, all that stuff. And also the main thing is getting those triggers and alerts about potential fraud. So our secret sauce is we know the patterns and we know what to look for in these calls that are red flags for us in the industry that are like red flags for fraud, right? Like this caller has been coached, or this is a repeat caller, or this is a litigator, or this is now the big one is this is an AI bot, right? This is not even a real person anymore. So we're building technology to find, to build these catches for those types of people, and alert the networks and the advertisers when this type of activity is happening.
That's
It's a
incredible.
cost saver for businesses. So, when I look at an opportunity, most people are like, oh, I can make some money, right? And in the consumer space, that's very hard because a lot of people don't want to spend money, right?
Yeah,
A lot of people are going through it. They're living paycheck to paycheck. They expect everything to be free when it comes to these services, and they don't really understand what goes into building a B2C type platform or product for these people. And look at the app store, right? No one's going to download an app even if it costs 99 cents. So why are they
absolutely.
going to spend $20 or $100 a month for some kind of product? So my take on it is I kind of flipped it and was like, who has money, who's willing to spend money? Businesses, right? They
Mm-hmm.
need these solutions, they need these products. And if you can provide something of value that's can pass a couple tests, right? Can it save the company money? Can it make the company money, right? It's not about how good it makes the business owner feel because it's fancy. They want to know, how is this affecting my bottom line? And in
Absolutely.
any business, you can look at a process and you can quickly, as most of us, if we're coming with that development mindset, we can identify those issues, right? Those bottlenecks. And that's really what you got to look for. Like, where's that bottleneck in that business, and how can I build a solution to streamline that issue that they have, that bottleneck that they have.
For
And
sure.
so,
Actually, cool.
with all that in mind, that's how we pivoted to the Call Dynamics platform.
Yeah, no, super interesting. Like I just did a lesson this morning on like the 10 reasons people buy, and it was from the book Copywriting Secrets. And the biggest two that are like unfortunately like obvious but not are to save time and to make more money. And I think sometimes people try to go one way, but there's a lot of money to be made in helping people save money and helping people like reduce their costs rather than going the other way around, and trying to build software that helps them make money. Because at the end of the day, every business operates differently, and that's like one of the hardest parts about B2B SaaS is like fitting a square into different types of plugs that every business has. And so one thing that fascinated me about what you just said was you built it for internal use. So does that mean you were already doing this type of stuff in your current business and then you built a piece of software because you felt that like there were more businesses like you? What was that thought process?
Yeah, that's exactly what it was, right? We had the need, and when you're talking about, for what we do, is we consider it a call quality assurance product, right? We're taking the call, and we're looking for any kind of patterns that can indicate fraud, and also providing more insight into the call, because we deal with like hundreds and thousands of calls a day, not hundreds of thousands, but hundreds to thousands of calls a day.
Wow.
And to hire somebody to listen to those calls with an average talk time of 15 minutes, and you do 1,000 calls, that's 15,000 minutes that
Yeah.
someone has to listen to. So you need a team, right, that are taking up 2 floors at some high-rise building to sit there and listen to phone calls all day. It's not cost effective. So a
Wow.
lot of these companies just don't do it. They don't have the manpower to do it. They don't have the
Yeah.
resources to do it. So the solution is, hey, use these new tools that we have at our fingertips that anybody can like put together. Well, I don't want to say anybody, but people who are determined and are willing to learn the space, they can use those AI tools and put these solutions together for businesses to save them money. And also, it's not just saving them money, it's saving them from potential lawsuits, potential loss of revenue due to non-payments because the calls were bad, things like that. So there's a lot of aspects to it, on the money side for the business.
Yeah, no, that's crazy. That's crazy. And a lot of this is AI powered. Is that what I'm understanding? Like you have leveraged like speech to text AI, or what kind of AI is involved here?
Yeah, so we use a lot of different AI techniques, custom modeling, fine tuning, RAG, lots of different services. We use some third party services, and we do a lot of stuff in house as well. And it wasn't cheap. I was,
Yeah, it
we
doesn't
were in
sound
a
like it.
position, we were in a position to be able to hire some people that are a lot smarter than me. Um, but I like to get my hands dirty too. So I've taught myself some Python and LangChain and a lot of the stuff that we use now, because I need to understand it, right? If I'm going to build a business around it, I want to understand how it works. And yeah, definitely some smarter people than me, but it's worth it. It's an investment, and yeah, that's kind of where we're at with that.
Yeah, that's really, really cool. So, did you start building this with no code tools, or were you always building this with like traditional coding? Tell me about like the tech stack when you came up with the idea. Like, what was your next step, to kind of start bringing this to life?
So it was so I'm fortunate enough to, at the time, I had a staff of people, right?
Okay.
And we put together some stuff. We started building it, right? And it was a lot of like manual stuff that we were doing. And so that's when we were like, okay, we need to turn this into something. So the first rendition, like the fastest up to use rendition of it, was an Airtable
Oh.
plugged in with ChatGPT, right? And some transcription services. And it was very, very limited, and it was very archaic, right,
Mm.
compared to where it is now. There was no custom prompting or modeling or anything like that. It was just, it was thrown together kind of thing, but it worked, right? And
Yeah.
so that was the internal tool that we used. And then it was kind of like, okay, we need to take this to the next step. And we looked into using some no code tools, but we were like, we want more control. That's a lot of technologies that we were using that were not available back then that are available now. Like, you guys got BuildShip. Like, I didn't even know about Flutterflow back then, or like things like WeWeb or
Mm.
Plasmic wasn't a thing. Plasmic's a great React no code builder, low code builder for the front end. So like, you guys are spoiled with BuildShip, I'll tell you that for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, and so yeah, so we were kind of like, well, the use case and what we're trying to do, we just can't use no code at this time. So that's where we had to go the expensive route and hire developers. And I found a theme on ThemeForest that I liked, and just hired the team that built that theme. And we just customized our own front end and built our own Python back end. And yeah, just
The
kept
rest is history.
reiterating and going through and going through, you know.
That's crazy. That's crazy. That's crazy. So, um, that's awesome. So you were definitely fortunate in that, like, you had a technical team. I know that you had experience in this space and you knew kind of how to sell high ticket. And so that probably helped you out. But I guess my question is like, okay, so you're building this, you have a team, but like you're investing your own hard earned cash probably to build this thing, probably a lot of money. How are you so sure you're going to get customers? Like, where are you going to get those customers from? He shrugs and says, no, I don't know. Like, you're putting up this money, you're building this big machine. Where are we going to generate revenue from?
Yeah, so I'm in the space, and so a lot of the people we do business with are in the same boat I was in. So it's a simple, hey guys, this is what I built, and so
Mm.
that's where we got our first users um, were the people in our circle, right? And we did a lot of training in the industry as well. So we were in the industry doing business, as well as training people in the industry to do what we do, because when you go into an industry, a lot of people like try to keep all of their stuff secret, right? Like, oh, okay, because you're the only one doing that, right? You got the
Yeah, yeah,
secret
yeah, for
sauce.
sure. I know how that
Unfortunately,
is.
that's never the case, right? If you're in an industry, there's 1,000 people smarter than you that are doing
Most
it better,
definitely.
right? So what we did was take a different approach to it, and it was more like, let's train the media buyers, because we're talking about marketing here. Let's train the media buyers to be better media buyers, and then we'll be their first network that they can sell their calls to, right? And so that got us into the space, that got us recognition, and we built a good foundation and following based on that. And so naturally, as those people became more and more successful, like I think the first or second year, we created like 8 to 10 millionaires within a year.
Wow.
So it was, it's quite a feat for our small little team that we had going on. And there's always that imposter syndrome, right, that takes hold, especially when you start getting in front of the camera and you start doing any kind of teaching, right? um, and I'm not saying that I didn't have that. I definitely had that at time to time, but I just stayed true to what I knew worked, and I showed people what I did, and it worked. And I remember one month I was teaching everybody, and I was like, okay, look, we're going to build a campaign together, and I'm going to start from zero, and I'm going to assume that I have $50 to do this. And I took that $50, and by the end of October, from October 1st to the 31st, I had made $120,000.
Damn, that is crazy.
So I completely documented that. All the tools, resources, tracking sheets, everything I did was completely out there for free. And
Wow, that's incredible.
so
So like,
that's giving that value, right? And so in return, you get that back tenfold, and that's really what's happened over the past
give
several
first
years.
mentality. No, that's sick. And like one thing I love about like the ad buying space, and maybe if people out there don't know what media buying means, it's the act of like buying ads and buying advertisements, particularly digitally, um, like Facebook ads, TikTok ads, Google ads, YouTube ads. I'm on the right track, right?
Right, exactly.
So like if you know how to play the game of ads, and you know how to track and build out unit economics and have a product in a funnel, there's so many people out there who like, well, it's almost like playing, I wouldn't say the stock market, but it's like a much better market to be like to be investing your money in. Like if you can build a machine where you can put $100 into ads, have good tracking, have good systems, have a good funnel, and you can get an 8x ROAS. Now you have and like a money printing machine, right? You just keep feeding Facebook ads, and on the other end of the spectrum, you're making money back out of it. So like I
Yeah,
really admire
exactly.
people who
Yeah,
know how to
so
work the ad
like I
buying
mean
game.
that's nail
Adrian, like my
nail on
partner,
the
is
head,
one of
right?
them. I think
And
you're on a different level when it comes to it, but like that's a skill, and that's something that we eventually want to be able to teach our builders is like, how do you buy ads? How do you think about unit economics? How do you think about like cost per sign up, cost per trial start, cost per trial conversion? What's the rate of people who are converting from trial starts to trial conversions? And like those are things that we're going to start getting a lot more into as our builders launch apps and as our builders are moving forward. But like that's I think an advantage that you have in the ad buying space is that you know how to create unit economic models, and you can get a lot of people to like use your software to drive those unit economics down, and therefore like you're creating a ton of value for them.
yeah, and if you can learn marketing and you can be a good media buyer, you can run any business that you want. Whatever business, doesn't matter what it is, what field it is, what industry, what niche, whatever. If you know how to buy ads and be a media buyer, you can run anything you want. Start any business you want, right? You are the secret sauce at that point. It doesn't matter. You can sell socks or you can sell puppy jackets. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Um, but yeah, I mean, you broke up a little bit there, so I think I lost a few things that you said. But yeah, I mean, you nailed everything on the head. Is just the marketing aspect of things is really where it comes down to play, and that's where money is spent.
Yeah,
And you look at the marketing budgets on the Super Bowl ads, you're looking 3, 4, $6 million for 15 seconds. Like
for sure.
someone's getting paid that $4 million, and you think it cost them $4 million to air your ad on Super Bowl? No,
Probably
it didn't.
not.
All right,
So
so
Clayton, like tell me like how much money do you think you're going to make, or what are you targeting to make with call dynamics? Like what's your, just I don't know, like paper and pen on a napkin math to how much money you're going to make?
um, yeah, it's hard to throw out figures, but like definitely 6 figures a month. Um, you know, easily by the next couple months here. So it's not, and we launched our beta in January, and definitely launching a beta with close people who understand that they're a part of a beta program is very important to any launch, because you're going to quickly realize that the way you design the app is not the way people are going to use it. And even though I knew the space I was in and I knew the product I was building, that happened to me during this whole thing, and we spent months reiterating and refactoring what we needed to do to make the customer happy, right? Because it's all about making the customer happy. You can do they call it like the toothbrush method, right? Like, does your does the user use your app twice a day, every
Ooh,
day, right?
interesting.
I think that was like Tim Cook or somebody said something like that, or maybe someone from Microsoft. But for me, for a consumer facing app, yes. For a business facing app, sometimes. because we quickly realized that you can make a lot of money as a pass-through company, right? As a pass-through type of software. What I mean by that is you can, if you're talking about data especially, if they don't have to go in there and figure all this stuff out themselves, right? And all they have to do is go through some onboarding flow and enter some credentials, and then they're getting all the data and insight that they need, emailed directly to their email or sent to their assistant or whatever, and they don't go into your app, that's fine, because if your app's on a usage basis, it's just charging that credit card every day.
Yeah.
And so the less that they go in there and see how much money they're spending, is kind of better for you, actually. And it's not that I'm trying to take people's money, but we're providing a service that's saving them money, making them money, and protecting them legally. So it's kind of like you're not going into your, Verizon bill every single day to go check to see how many times you sent a text message and paid, and you're just going to pay the bill at the end of the month.
Hell yeah, you are. Absolutely.
You know what
I mean?
Yeah. And like, it's not like a streaming service where if you're not watching it, you're going to cancel, right? You're not getting any value out of the streaming service if you're never watching it. So why would you pay for it?
Absolutely.
Well, in this sense, it's essentially a streaming service, right? We're ingesting data, we're doing our thing, and we're sending it back to the platforms that they live in every day.
Yeah.
So it's that bridge. We're like a little tiny bridge that gives them more value. Almost kind of like we could have built this thing as an API product if we really wanted to, with no front end at all.
Yeah.
But we wanted to give the front end. I'm a front end guy. I love UI and UX design. I'm very passionate about it. And but I want to circle back around to the no code question. I could have built this with no code. With the no code that's available today, I definitely could have built this. Maybe not all the stuff we did on the back end, but like with the things with BuildShip, I mean, they just launched their Claude 3 integration, right? Claude 3 Opus, and they have a video on YouTube if you guys want to go check it out. But Claude 3, if you guys haven't used, like, that's worth the $20 a month. I live in that thing. That is the best AI when it comes to web development, for sure.
Why do you say that? Because it's good at code generation, or
yeah, it's a crazy time right now, for sure, for no code.
Would you be able to demo us at all?
Demo the product?
You demo either the product or Claude 3, like you could if you wanted to.
Okay. Yeah, I'll show you how I use Claude 3 if you want to do that.
Yeah, that's cool.
And if you guys wanted, you can just go. We're actually launching the production model next week of Call Dynamics.
Oh, wow.
So beta's closed. So if you try to go sign up, it's just going to tell you no.
Got it.
But we have our waiting list for production and everything. So that's pretty exciting next week.
Sick. Yeah, we have a lot of friends that are close to us and other like networks, like running high ticket offers and phone sales functions. So we'd love to recommend them. But yeah, if you can share anything on your screen to kind of demo the audience, kind of how you work your day to day as a B2B SaaS founder, that'd be really cool.
Yeah. So let's.
Do you see the button to share at the bottom there?
Yep. Let's see screen.
And are you using Claude 3 API for your SaaS?
Claude 3 is a little expensive.
Okay.
It's definitely not for like the context window is much better than anything out there. It's 200K context window as opposed to the 32K or 120 something from Turbo.
Got it.
So you get the 200. I've used Gemini Pro 1.5, and that's a million token context window.
Mm-hmm.
But the output is not that great. I found with GPT, if you're talking about code, and I'm talking about like code, like, so you want those SQL injections, or you want straight out just do this for me, build me the whole code, like it'll do good. You do have to kind of understand and do it, but so can you see my screen?
I can, yeah, I can see your screen.
All right, so here's a prompt. I'm gonna put it in here now. Shouldn't have any information. So basically, I always start off with a project overview, right? This application is using React 18, Next 14, App Router Framework, TypeScript, type safe with enums, Tailwind CSS for styling, Chatzian for UI components, Zod for validation, React hook forms, Zoostan for state management, and Framer Motion for animation, right? So I kind of like gave it like, this is what I'm working on. And then what I'll do is if I have a code reference saying like, hey, fix this code, or what does this code mean, or anything like that, I would add the code snippet here. If it's a large code snippet, then what it does, it actually gets attached as an attachment, and you can attach up to 5 files that are up to 10 megabytes each, which is great. Then down here we have our task prompt, and under the task prompt, I'm going to tell it what to do. Like, all right, I want you to build me a table that does this or that, right? Or I need a page for user registration, or I need a pop-up modal, or whatever it is that you build. You just tell it what you want. And then application details, again, I just kind of go through what I went up at the top. Mm-hmm. I give it my app folder structure. So this would be my repository structure, my repo. So like, say if, my components path is, we'll just say something like @ there we go, components /UI /button, right? And so for those that don't know coding or anything, think about a repo as a Google Drive, right? And in the Google Drive, you have folders, and each one of those folders is considered a directory. Mm-hmm. In Next.js, they're actually the routes. So you would go into your app folder, and in your app folder, that's all of your pages for your application. So like your home page, your about page, all that stuff. Each one of those is a folder. So that's how it does the routing. It's a little technical, I know, for a no code, but yeah. But I think it's very important too, even if you're no coding. So I'm teaching my son WeWeb right now. I'm having him really dive deep into WeWeb because there's some projects that I want to tackle this year. And my bandwidth is pretty much tied up with call dynamics. So, he wants money. He's going to college. I got to, pay his bills. So it's time for him to do some work. And so I'm having him learn no code, and I'm having to learn WeWeb because we do a lot of, I like B2B myself because of the availability of cash from the user. So B2B doesn't really use applications, right? They're not going to download something on their phone usually. Now there are some things that you can do. So say maybe you build a web application and you want to have a mobile app that can act as like a chat with that person's data, right? So the mobile app is just a chat GPT interface style, but it connects to the database of all of their data. So as a CEO, I want to say, okay, what was my numbers from last year? Boom, 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 bam, it goes off of just my data. And now I got those numbers and figures, right? My accounting manager, she needs to go like, what was the spend on food and entertainment last month, right? And it can go and you can API into your QuickBooks, and it can analyze that data and send you back that data using, certain methods that you can now you can now build with drag and drop. It's just insane. It's insane. Yeah. Like we had just last year, we were having to do all that stuff manually. Now we can use drag and drop things. It's insane. But let me go back to this real quick. So any files that I attach, I'll attach like example code or file code from my actual repo. And I always include my package JSON file.
So real quick, I want to stop there just for half a second to talk about like how I would use this for like Flutter Flow. A lot of our builders right now are like exporting their code, dealing with Flutter, and they've never used code for the first, like they've never used code at all, but they're trying to navigate Flutter. And oftentimes like I just say, hey, go to ChatGPT, give it some information, give it some context about your app, and modify, ChatGPT to help you solve those code level problems. And so to me, that seems like what's going on here, right? Like if we were able to download the code from Flutterflow and we were able to work on like a widget by widget basis and give Claude 3 some of the details about Flutterflow, or even BuildShip, because BuildShip gives you code level insights too. I think this could be a really good workflow. So what you're showing me here, although it's React, every programming framework out there, whether it's Flutter or React or Vue or Tailwind CSS, whatever framework you're using, the same kind of method applies. You could totally prompt either Claude 3 or ChatGPT to help you kind of work through some of these problems.
Yeah, so let's do a quick example. I'm going to show you guys this Next.js, how this prompting works. We're going to create a button that opens a dialog box and acts, like create a button using ShadCN UI that opens a responsive dialog window to confirm the deletion of the selected user. Well, can't spell today, guys. All right. And then we're just gonna hit enter, right? So it knows, I took out some of the stuff, so it basically knows the application I'm using and knows how my file structure is, and I just told it to do this. So now it's gonna basically walk me through everything that I need to do, right?
Whoa, that is
And
sick.
I'm gonna show you one more trick when we go to the next one, and I'll use a Flutter Flow example, but I'll need your guidance on some things. But look at this code that it's writing, you guys. Like,
Yeah, I mean, I've been a React developer for like 8 years, and that looks like some solid React.
it's beautiful. Like in the code, like sometimes you got to finesse a few things, but you can see that it's using a dialog. So I wouldn't use the dialog box. What I would use is actually a drawer and dialog box to make it responsive, meaning when they go down to a mobile site, it actually goes to a pull-up drawer instead of a modal, right? A modal is just like a pop-up window. So right now what this is doing is it's you have a full screen, you click on the button, it's going to open up that modal and then make the modal responsive. But what I would do is tell it, okay, actually use this. And so what I would do is come over here, right? I go ShadCN UI. Let's go check out their docs real quick. I'm going to come over here to drawer. We're going to scroll down, right? A responsive one. So this is what I'm talking about. See, opens up in this. And then if I kind of crush it down, see how it pops up?
Yeah.
See the responsiveness there?
Yeah. That's sick.
Now what I want to do is take this code and say, copy the code. Sorry, my mic's in the way here. And be like, okay, that's great. Use this code, or let's go update the code to use this style of drawer and dialog box. I'm going to go down, paste that code, enter it, and what it's going to do now, it's going to refactor that whole code to make exactly what I wanted it to do.
Yo, that is crazy. You're literally becoming like a full developer.
You're a full stack developer now. Like Claude makes it, and you are limited, like how many things. And I have the paid program and things like that. Also, Claude, if we open this up, you can see that if we had any kind of content, like if I upload any documents, it would be all listed here. So it's not something you have to keep uploading over and over again after each question. It retains that because it's got such a big context window. 200,000.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing.
And then it gives you step-by-steps on what it needs to do. So look, now it's got the responsive drawer. It's got the dialog box on if it's a desktop, right? It's got all the handlings. And then if you want to take it one step further, you start saying, like, I can see that it is using TypeScript. Perfect. You know, and maybe if we had any kind of drop downs with any kind of like, you know, preset values, like a list of industries, right? I would tell it, actually now make me a file of enums that are type safe for all these options, and then it'll just create that folder for me. It's
amazing.
Insane. So let's open up a new chat, and we're gonna do something real quick here. I'm gonna say project, and you don't have to do this way. This is just the way I do it. I've been learning a little bit about some more stuff, and you can actually do it like this, and it kind of likes it better, where you can go project.
Oh,
so
wow, is that like a syntax that Claude looks for?
Yeah, so if you look at Claude, what's it called? Meta prompting. It uses this type of style. And so you can actually use their meta prompting and it will actually create a prompt for you. And then you just use that prompt.
Wow, very cool.
So we would say Flutter Flow application with build ship backend endpoints, right? It doesn't need too much details. And then I can just say like task, right? I'm just gonna go, oops. And we'll say, I don't know, give me an idea. Like, what are you thinking?
For an app?
Just like a function in your app.
Um,
Like what's something hard that would take a
Something
while
that
to
just
do?
happened yesterday was somebody was trying to embed a video player that would print out like the timestamp onto the screen of the video. So like they put a 5 minute video on the screen, and then at minute three, something would happen on the app. Like the app would detect when it became like minute three, timestamp 3:00, and like a pop up would come up on the app.
Okay, so you would say something like, I have an embedded video player on my Flutter. Sorry, I'm trying to type so fast. Flutterflow app that I want, or Flutterflow app. I want a pop-up to appear here after 3 minutes and 24 seconds into the video that tells the user to sign up to finish watching the video or whatever, right? Okay, and let's just give it that. Let's just see what it does, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so now it's going to kind of go through, and I haven't tested this with Flutterflow, so you're going to have to be my eyes on this.
Sure.
It looks like it's giving me Flutter. Now it's JavaScript, so this might be something for. So here we go. Just read through the things in your Flutterflow app. The video player kind of right. Container. So you create a new build ship backend endpoint. So it's creating the build ship app backpoint endpoint saying check video progress. So this is you're checking your video progress there in the Flutterflow app, and the timer component on the video on tap. So it's gonna basically, yeah, just walk you. I don't know if that's valid or if that makes sense to you.
Can you scroll up?
Yeah.
Scroll up again.
We didn't really give it much context to go off of, and this
Yeah,
is
that's what I'm seeing. Like,
it's just like what I would do in this case, right? If I'm using a this is 2 parts, right? I would say, like I would give it more context. Okay, like I'm using build ship and I want to create a node that does this. How do I
well,
do that?
actually,
Give
I
me
think
some.
it's still looking at. I think that's still JavaScript. Maybe it's is your
Yeah, it's
context. Did we do this in the same context as your other
no,
one,
it's a
or is this a new one?
brand new one.
Oh, interesting.
Embedding a
Maybe it's like
video
used to
player.
you, or maybe it's because you might have like specified like the JavaScript type of syntax. But to me, that looks like JavaScript.
So if we went to like build ship, right? What I like to do is go to their docs. Let's go build ship docs.
But I mean, Clay, that makes sense. Like, I could kind of see where you're heading with that.
Where are their docs? No, yeah.
The thing about BuildShip is that
Here we go.
BuildShip is a
Got it.
TypeScript and JavaScript
So
no code tool.
like
So I'm not sure if that would like sway the response to TypeScript.
I'm sorry, you broke up a little bit.
I said BuildShip is a TypeScript tool, so I'm not sure if you feed this documentation if it would output Flutter.
So we can go build ship uses.
And honestly, like for this functionality that I've challenged you with right now, you wouldn't even need BuildShip. You would just need Flutterflow and Flutter.
Okay.
Because it's a front end thing, right? Like we're only worried about like
do this in just Flutter. Flugger.
Mhm.
Flutter. Let's see. Give me any custom code in. It's Flutter, right? You gotta use Flutter.
In Flutter.
In Flutter, for the timer and or pop up. Okay, and then so this is what I always do, and this is some expert advice right here. Okay,
I lost you
always
for half a
end
second.
with. Okay. So this is what I always do. So like at the end of everything, because like this is great, like it gave us all this information, right? But it's overwhelming, right?
Yeah.
It's just overwhelming. So what I like to do is go, give me one step at a time
I
and
see.
wait for me to respond with done before moving on to the next step. Right?
Yeah, that makes
So
sense.
just give it that. So now it's just going to walk me through each step and be like, okay, let me know when you're done.
Oh,
Right?
that's
Great.
amazing. That's really cool.
And I would say done. Right? And so now it's going to say, okay, now what's the next step? Okay. And be like, where is add container located? Right? And so it should tell me where to locate it. Right? Flutter Flow, you can blah, blah, blah,
Yo,
scroll
that
on.
is crazy. And this gets me super excited as we build out our new platform. Like we are designing an entire platform right now, Clay, that's going to take people from, idea to launch, and it's going to be completely AI driven where like it's going to tell you exactly what you need to do one step at a time. And so this is getting me super excited to think about, okay, how do we
Yeah.
use this in our new platform?
So and the reason I got real good with this is I had to learn Python, and had no clue where to
Yeah.
start, what to do, or anything. So what I first started doing was I started watching YouTube videos. Right, that's where we all go, and so I can get the general concept. Right, and once you have the concept of what you want to do, um, you got to do the boring stuff first. I know it
Yeah.
sucks. We all got to do the boring stuff, the planning. Right, oh god. But if you have a good plan and you work with your AI bot to like formulate stuff, like I formulate prompts based on components that I'm building, right? Like I have a whole prompt for just one component. It includes everything that the AI needs to know about that component, what it does, how it affects other things, and then whenever I need to update it or upgrade it or change anything, I just throw that prompt in there and say, I'm having troubles doing this. These are the errors that I'm getting, or I wanted to do this, but it's doing this still, and then it'll just give me how to fix it. And if you really want to go and you're comfortable with putting code in here, that obviously you don't want to put code in here that has any kind of keys or anything like that.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
that because it's public information, guys. Like you put your keys in here, it's gonna remember, and if somebody goes and asks certain questions, they can eventually get that. What I like about Claude is they are enterprise focused only. They don't
Hmm.
care about users like consumers and things like that. I mean, not that they don't care, but their focus is a safe enterprise grade AI platform, right?
Got it.
So it's very I get a lot of value out of this thing, and once you run out of stuff, because this is the paid version, right? So they only let you have so much, and like I get blocked all the time, right? There's like, okay, you got to wait till 2 o'clock in the afternoon to ask another question, right? So then you just come down here, and I'm just going to switch to their Sonnet version, right? And just tell me about Flutter Flow. And then this one is super fast. The response is crazy, and it's just going to give you and it gives you good code, not as good as Opus, right? But it definitely is fast. And what I do, I scrape documents. Um, let me show you real quick here. So I'm currently scraping the Next.js Node backend SDK for Clerk authentication. And so I'm building this whole markdown file, and some people are going to be like, bro, you can just go to GitHub and grab this. But I'm just grabbing the stuff that's relevant to my use case and relevant to my language that I'm coding in, right? And so you can come see I'm just scraping and putting everything in a markdown file.
Mm.
And then what I'm going to do with this markdown file is I'm going to train Claude on, and I'm going to create an actual GPT agent too as well, open for everyone to use because there's not one that exists yet. But it's going to be trained on Clerk. Clerk is an authentication platform that makes it super easy to add authentication on any application that you want. Like very little bit of code that you have to write. Everything's pre-made and you control it from the back end. So it's a great product, enterprise level. broken down by organizations, everything. So it's a great product, and we're using that on our system as well. But like, there's some things when I'll ask about it, and it doesn't know everything, right? Because if we scroll down to at the bottom of this doc, this was updated on April 1st, 2024. So this is a markdown file that I'm building off of the docs and the processes and things that I need from the clerk documentation. I'm just going to their docs and I'm scraping the docs and I'm pulling it in and making this a markdown folder or
Wow.
file. And so now, like, it's got everything that I need. Everything's broken down, very clean. But we can see, like, look, this was updated February 28th, 2024, this document right here. So if we come back over here to Claude and I say, when were you last updated, right? You're not going to tell me. This guy tells me. It's 2023 there you go. August 2023.
Wow.
Right?
Okay.
Right. So the data only goes to what they've scraped, and if they've scraped those documentations at all, right? I know it knows clerk, like, do you know clerk.com? And it'll say yes, it does, because it's helped me code with some clerk stuff. But again, it says my knowledge is only up to August 2023. I'm sorry. So that means, like, if we look at this is the most up-to-date version, but it's a year newer than what Claude has. So you run into errors and stuff when you're coding because it's using old documents that are depreciated already. So those are things to take into account when you're using these AIs for any kind of hard coding and stuff like that. But majority of what people are doing with no code, the AI bot will do exactly what it needs to do and give you the code that is accurate to today's standards. So yeah, that's kind of my trick, become a coder overnight.
That is amazing, man. Like, I'm thinking about, like, when people say like 10x engineers, and like I'm literally thinking about like how you could use this to like extend your brain so far that, like, yeah, like you aren't necessarily having to do the problem solving and the heavy lifting. You are pretty much just like using your imagination to like tie ideas together. And so this is absolutely incredible. I think this is incredible value for people out there who are like, there's a spectrum of no coders that we've been working with. There's like you on, like, honestly the edge of like low coder and like software developer. Like, you're literally at the cusp right there of like someone who's damn near considered a software engineer, but like you probably just have like that imposter syndrome where you don't want to admit it. And then honestly, like, that's you. And then we have the person on this side of the spectrum who are like our academy builders, who are like the aspiring, make money online. They want to, launch their first app, learn cutting edge skills. They didn't get to go get a computer science degree. So we have like that person who's never looked at code before. And then we have you and everybody in between. And like, over the 200, 300 people that we've got a chance to work with over the last year, like, we've seen so many people in that spectrum. And like, our goal is to figure out like, how do we get as many people from like that aspiring entrepreneur, aspiring app builder spot to go from there all the way to where you are today. Right. And so like, the possibilities are like really endless. Our like internal mission right now is to figure out how do we upskill those people to go from, their like A to B. And that's a hard problem to solve because not everybody has like that problem solving mentality, and not everybody has that, like, honestly, sometimes even time, sometimes even resources, sometimes even like the ability to reason through things. And so reasoning and like problem solving, critical thinking, computational thinking,
stuff,
pattern detection, right? Like, you're probably really good at identifying patterns. I am too, but like not everybody is. And so those are like the skill gaps that we're trying to tackle. And honestly, what you just showed us is like the pinnacle of like where we want to take low code, no coders too. So super impressive.
And it's kind of like, there's no excuse anymore, right? It's like a DUI. There's no excuse for a DUI because there's Uber and Lyft, right? Like, there's no excuse. Sorry, guys. And there's no excuse to be afraid of code anymore. They have like these programs coming out called Devin. If anybody's not heard of it, basically we'll just build an app for you. But the problem is, and this is something that a lot of people, you're not going to hear on YouTube, is those are very generalized products, right? They're trying to meet the masses. So this thing is trained on every single programming language under the sun.
For sure.
Well, when you're coming up with solutions, the business doesn't care what it's written in. It doesn't care of any of that crap, right? What it cares about is the results and how fast you can get them to results. And if you can use the power of AI and the power of no code or the power of low code, there's the opportunity. It's a gold rush right now. The investors are out there looking to sink money into AI startups. There was this great Y Combinator panel interview thing that they just started doing this year, and it was just like really opened my eyes on, everyone's going after these bots, right? They're all trying to make all these bots for these companies, but companies don't want the bots. Companies want you to just embed that into their existing workflows, to where it's like they don't need to know how they'll say they want to know how it works, but that's not what they mean. What they mean is like, how is this going to help me? How is this going to streamline my business?
For sure.
And it could be for something super simple, right? And it's always very niche, right? And going and trying to be a general like fitness app bot that's going to give you like the best shredding program. There's a billion of those things out there, right? And people don't even download them if they're free.
Yeah.
So take that into account. That's what I just want to like just harp on that, guys. It's all about niching down, understanding the need, and providing that solution. And I know that's what everyone says, but the truth of the matter is, like, stop chasing money, start chasing solutions. Start finding problems. If you see a problem, there's an opportunity. That's really what it is.
Love that. I absolutely love it. I love how you said there's no excuse. Clayton, thanks so much, man. Like, that was a great hour of like getting to know your story. I got to know more about you, your experience kind of, building B2B SaaS. I'm sure there's so much more we could have tackled. And then you went in and like showed us, honestly, like, and I meant what I said, like you were literally like the bare, like minimum software engineer, damn near. And so it's really impressive what you've done. And I've always kind of admired that about you. So really appreciate, the time that you were able to spread knowledge with the community. And if anybody else is looking to build B2B SaaS, maybe we can kind of tease that Clayton and I are going to be putting together some curriculum, because there's a lot of people who come through the community want to build B2B SaaS, and we're putting together a brand new tech stack to be able to achieve those types of goals. So really excited to be in your corner, Clayton. And if there's anything else you want to mention, and where can people find you? If you want to link to your social media, your website, where can people find you?
You can find me on GitHub at Polar Coding 85.
Love it.
My socials are like, they're pretty like just personal.
You're in our Discord, right? So if anybody has a question for you,
hit me up. Yeah, I'm active. Down to always ask questions and answer them as best as I can.
Cool.
I'm excited to be able to, bring this experience to the no code world. I think it's kind of lacking that B2B aspect of it. And definitely looking forward to providing more value for the community, for sure.
Hell yeah, Clayton. Thanks so much, man.
Absolutely. Appreciate it.